Mr. Speaker, of course the government and all members of Parliament must obey the law. But it is also the case that Parliament must pass wise laws and must pass them according to our traditions and practices and rules. And I wish to concentrate briefly on this question of the wisdom of this law and urge those who sponsored it to think again in the national interest. Because this is no normal law. A normal law applies to everyone in the country equally, and there are criminal penalties on those who break the law, and we wish to see the law enforced. This is not that kind of a law. This is an Act of Parliament which is a political instruction to our Prime Minister, and it is a political instruction about how he should behave in an international negotiation. Normally, this Parliament takes the view that international negotiations are best handled in detail by the government, and we, the Parliament, judge the outturn, the result, by either approving it or disapproving of it. And I would urge colleagues then to think again, because by instructing the Prime Minister in the way that this Parliament has sought to do over this negotiation, two things follow. The first is that the EU, the counterparties to the negotiation, can see that this Parliament has deliberately undermined the position of the lead negotiator for our country, and will take note of that, and instead of giving things will say there is no point in giving things. And the second thing, even worse, is the European Union will take note of the fact that our Prime Minister, under this Act, is to seek an extension on any terms the European Union cares to dictate. Now, how can anyone in this House say that is good law or justice or makes sense for the British people? If you are of the Remain persuasion, just as of the Leave persuasion, you must surely see, Mr. Speaker, that this is not the way to treat your lead negotiator or to put your country naked into the negotiating chamber with the European Union. It puts this country in a farcical and extremely weak position. Now, I thought the party opposite wanted us to leave the European Union, but it didn't like the withdrawal agreement. I have sympathy with that. And it doesn't like leaving without the withdrawal agreement. I have less sympathy with that proposition. And so they're looking for some kind of third way. They are presumably thinking that you could do some other kind of renegotiation. They never explained to us what that renegotiation would be like, and they never explained how the EU would even start talking about it, because the EU has consistently said you either take the withdrawal agreement or you just leave. I give way to my honourable friend.
I thank my honourable friend for giving way. But it seems to me a really bizarre position the opposition have taken, in that even if they do manage to, or did manage to negotiate a new deal with the EU, they said that they actually campaign against it. It's a really odd position for this nation to be in.
Well, Mr. Speaker, that is even more bizarre. I mean, normally governments do their best negotiation, then they come back and recommend it to the House of Commons. It would indeed be fatuous if we ever got to the position where we had a government in this country that it negotiated a deal which it knew it wanted to reject. It should not waste everybody's time and just say let's leave without a deal. So, Mr. Speaker, but we're wandering a little bit from the point of this debate, which is about the rule of law. And this House of Commons should think again. This is an extremely unwise law. This undermines the Prime Minister, but more importantly, it undermines our country. It makes it extremely unlikely that all those Remain supporting MPs who could live with our exit with a variant of the withdrawal agreement are not going to get that, because they have deliberately undermined the pressure our Prime Minister may place on the European Union in these negotiations he's trying to undertake. And even worse, they've invited the EU to dictate terrible terms for a few months' extension. And why wouldn't the EU do it? So please, Parliament, reconsider. Parliament has a duty to put through wise laws. Parliament has a duty to represent the national interest. This miserable act is an act of great political folly, undermining our country in a very desperate way. Yeah.